Hello, I am Julie Grimm, and I am so honored to be here today with Jordan Bain. We are going to be talking about all things Kabbalah and most especially the upcoming 2027, yes, already 2027, uh, Hermetic Ray Kabbalah, which will be here in the Boston area. So, getting that education information out for folks. First and foremost, thank you so much for joining today, Jordan, and thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, and thanks for proposing this.
Yeah. So I've known Jordan now over 10 years, and I've had the honor of being in courses, Kabbalah courses that Jordan has facilitated as well as directly led. I think we're at number 7. I would have to do a recount. But I would definitely myself have greatly benefited from Kabbalah. But I understand that it's something people might have heard in passing. They're not really sure what it is, and they want to understand more deeply. It's quite a lot of time, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of energy. Why would somebody first of all be interested in Kabbalah, and then of course what can it do for them? So that's what we'll cover in the next couple of 30 minutes or so. But first and foremost, Jordan, would you like to share a little bit more if somebody's never met you before? Tell us more about you.
Sure. Well, thanks again for having me. So my name is Jordan Bain, and I first started taking Kabbalah with the mystery school a long time ago, 20 years ago in 2006. And it was one of the first things that really spoke to me and really grabbed me when I started with the mystery school and I did the Empower Thyself 2-day initiation weekend. And in that weekend, a lot of things didn't really speak to me. I wasn't really into most of what was being said that weekend. I had a lot of opinions, a lot of ideas, and a lot of other spiritual experiences I had had prior to the mystery school. And most of the mystery school back then it just sounded like gibberish and bad marketing copy. I wasn't interested at all. And then something about Kabbalah though really stood out to me. And I knew the whole weekend for those 2 days for Empower Thyself, I was like, I'm never doing anything else in the mystery school ever again. And at the end of the second day, we talked about Kabbalah, and I was like, except that, I'm going to do that. I need to do that. I don't even know what that is. I heard that Madonna was into it at the time because that was a relatively recent thing. I mean, this is 20 years ago now. So I think Madonna got into it in like 1999 or 2000 or something like that. But she was doing Jewish Kabbalah, and I sort of vaguely had a conception that Kabbalah was some sort of mystical Jewish practice, and it always sounded cool to me, but I never really heard anyone describe it, especially not the way that it was described in detail in the Empower Thyself training. So I just kind of put that in the back of my hat. And 8 months later, when Kabbalah rolled around, I absolutely was there. I signed up, and it really, it launched me on a journey to that first year in Kabbalah. It was an 11-month Kabbalah class that year, and I mean, like every single area of my life shifted in a not just positive way, like, oh, I saw some improvements, but things that I thought maybe I wasn't even good at or capable of became strengths, things that I had perhaps avoided because I wasn't confident, or I just didn't know, or I didn't have experience in those areas of my life. Kabbalah brought me to not only confront that and look at, is that really true? Is that who you are? Constantly asking what we call the 5 questions in Kabbalah, starting with who am I? And then, which is the self and the essence, and then our qualities, what am I? And then moving into our origins and our history and our story of where we come from, and then finally moving into where we're going and our purpose. And Kabbalah, we often say, I say this a lot at least, that you don't do Kabbalah, Kabbalah does you, because you come to Kabbalah as you are, and no one can do it correctly, because Kabbalah is the blueprint of the mind of God. It's the blueprint of the universe. It's the blueprint of everything that can exist and that does exist exists inside what we call the tree of life in a structured way. And even that was a foreign concept to me, that even after 10 years of meditation and spiritual training with other systems, because I started when I was very young as an early teen and found a mystery school in my mid-20s, the concept that the whole universe is structured and has like there's structure here on earth. Nothing can work without structure. The cells in your body have structure, minerals, down to molecules, atoms. Everything is made of specific shapes and forms, and the form defines the function, and vice versa. The function defines the form. If you want to have a car go, you can't just put a bunch of random parts together. You have to put very specific parts together in very specific ways, and they have to function in a certain sequence and a timing. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of metal sitting on some wheels in your driveway. Because everything works together in a perfect way, the car can function. And the world of spirit is really no different than that. There's an order and a structure and a harmonization to all things. And the tree of life describes those relationships. And it doesn't just describe those relationships, it is those relationships. It embodies those relationships. It informs those relationships, and it gives you the opportunity to change, upgrade, synthesize, harmonize those relationships for a better life, so that your functioning goes up many, many, many levels and doesn't just change from, oh, I'm functioning at this level to this higher level, but I'm functioning in a new form. So Kabbalah is, I sometimes hesitate to use this word because it's a little bit overused these days and in the last 10, 15 years, but Kabbalah is alchemy. And alchemy is changing one thing into something else, changing something from a lower state into a higher state. And the higher state is not like the lower state. The state of my life that resulted from doing Kabbalah, even just that one time, which is a massive journey for that year, put me on a course to live my true purpose, on a course to live my mission in life, whatever a person might think of that as. So, and it did it pretty quickly. it didn't take 10 years. By the end of those 11 months, I was in a very different place. And then by 6 months after Kabbalah, I was doing things in my life that I had thought I would never do, and in the best way, like being able to work in environments and companies and hold roles and positions and run my own business at the same time, heal massive things in a relationship. And later I was married to that person functionally for, 10 years. And during that time in Kabbalah, like broke up with that person. And then basically by the end of it, got back together with them, but it was a completely new relationship. Like all the old things that hadn't worked well had been significantly shifted for the better, and most of them had like gone away. The problems that we had had in our prior year and a half together were wiped out during that year of Kabbalah. When we got back together, I was like, we're both completely different people.
Yeah.
And Kabbalah was the major factor in that kind of transformation. So transformation of life through business, transformation of relationship, transformation of my health. I went through a major, like I got in a bicycle accident during Kabbalah, healed. I went to massage school during that time, started a business, started a corporate job, had amazing success in all these areas of my life. And I was only 25, 26 years old. And it showed me all the possibilities for how I could shift and heal and reclaim my real power, my destiny. And that's a big word for a lot of people, is destiny, but Kabbalah really puts you on track to your destiny. There is something that you came here to do. Kabbalah absolutely says that. Hermetics says that. The mystery school tradition says that you have a life purpose. You planned out your life purpose a long time before you were born. Is your life purpose going to go exactly in some sort of linear roadmap, like reading a textbook? No, but there's themes, there's lessons, there's contributions, there's a unique service that you're here to do as an individual that nobody else is here to do. And what that's going to look like is a little bit in your hands, but a lot of it is pre-written. So we need to discover what that is. And Kabbalah is the best system that I've ever found to discover what that is specifically, and then put the pieces of that car engine together in the right sequence so that the car can actually go somewhere, instead of being like, yeah, I have a purpose, but it's just sitting in my driveway and I don't know how to make it run. Like, what good is that? It's great that you I think it looks like a Camaro, but I don't know. It's, kind of looks like a car. I've never driven it. I don't think it works. So we just go do something else. And then when we can make that thing go for the first time, it's absolutely amazing. And of course, it's going to be a process. Of course, that car is going to need upgrades. If it was a piece of junk when you started, in terms of your purpose, you're going to, or whatever level it was at, if it was barely puttering along, I'm not talking about the functioning of your life in the human world, because most people who come to Kabbalah, their life in the human world is actually already working pretty well. I'm not talking about being broken and needing tons of healing. I'm just talking about where you're at with your purpose, because having a really wonderful life, a great job, a great marriage, great family, all that, wonderful, amazing. That definitely takes a certain level of spiritual balance and poise, intuition and mindset, and all good things to accomplish that in life. But when we start to talk about higher purpose, Kabbalah is inviting us to something more. Kabbalah is inviting us to yes, and there's more. And that's, I think, a major pause point for a lot of people in their life when they realize they're successful in whatever ways they're successful, and there's also more. And that something more is calling them pretty profoundly. If you're watching this video and you're a mystery school initiate or considering doing Kabbalah, something in you has already called pretty powerfully to say there's more. So that's a little bit about my first time through Kabbalah, and a little bit about what it can do in a person's life.
Yeah, that's super profound. And I can relate when you're talking about already achieving what otherwise was impossible in your mind within that first year or 2 year of Kabbalah. 100% that was me. There were these things which on paper they weren't even that impossible, but in my own mind, I had just X'd them out of my life, right? I just thought that's for other people, that's not for me, right? This is what I'm capable of. This is the life that I'm going to do. And in that first tree, the second tree, already huge, massive shifts in like, oh no, I could do that and more. I could do that and more. I could do that and more. And the and more part, it's I would say it keeps going, but it's part of that adventure, and it's part of that mystery, and part of the excitement of, being living here, especially in these times that we're in right now. The and more is more present than ever, but it's juxtaposed to the old die off real fast. So
Yeah, like the whole world burning down thing.
yeah.
That's that's happening, and that's according to most spiritual traditions that I've studied, whether they're religious or mystery school or shamanic indigenous traditions. Like there's a lot of prophecies about the time that we're living in, and there's a lot of things that uh, have served maybe in old ways, and now they have to come to an end because we're not in that old time anymore. Everything's about timing. Why do people wake up? That's about timing. People come to earth. That's about timing. Like, why were you born now? Why weren't you born 100 years ago? Why aren't you born in 2080? There's something in you on a soul spirit level wanted to be born at this time. You're here now, and there's a reason for that. And there's a reason that the old times were the way they were. There's a reason that the future times are going to be in a different way. And we are living in one of the most exciting times that's been around on this planet for a very, very, very long time. Maybe in the course of our entire human civilization, as we think of history and textbooks in school and what people learn in school. Of course, human history, for those people who study things beyond what was taught in high school, is much, much longer than the last 5,000 to 8,000 years. But what people think of as this sweep of civilization that maybe started in what is now the Middle East many, many thousands of years ago, and that even just in this time that we live in now, this is probably the most exciting time of this sweep of human civilization, because so much is changing.
Yeah. And
And
so,
yeah,
well, I was just going to say, so, given that, because we haven't got into the nitty gritty of the Kabbalah, because it's 11 months. So let's say, they've got a busy life, they have their job, they have relationship, they have kids, maybe they like travel, things like that. Why prioritize this? Why? And I would even put it in the framework of the time that we're in right now, as well as it being a huge factor of why the moment is right now.
yeah.
I don't know if you could speak to any of that at all for somebody who's maybe, they're just looking at their schedule, they're looking at finances, they're looking at energy, they're looking at all, they're going, I feel a call, this is interesting, I feel the draw, and yet there's all these kind of, the bare bones of life, and how, I want to make sure I manage that, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to several things that are competing factors. One is everything is timing, and everything has a divine timing to it. So that the discernment then becomes, well, what's my divine timing? And once that's answered, everything else is just commentary. Who cares about your finances? Who cares about your schedule? If it's your time, you'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And if it's not your time, you won't make it happen.
How do people connect with this understanding? Is it my time or not?
Well, time is not a function of time. Time is a function of energy. And energy is a function of awareness. And awareness is a function of attention. And attention is a function of caring. So we need to work that and reverse engineer it. So what do you care about the most? What you're going to pay attention to? What you pay attention to, you're going to have awareness of. What you have awareness of, you're going to put energy into. What you put energy into will change the timing. So what do you care about? So people have to come back to what they care about. If you care about shifting your life in a positive direction, you'll do Kabbalah. And if you don't, you won't. It's like there's other ways to shift your life, but there's nothing like Kabbalah to shift your life. And
Yeah.
some
And
people
maybe
are
the
like, "Oh, Kabbalah is
urgency.
expensive." Kabbalah is, $5,000-$6,000. Like with a retreat, it's like $6,000 to do Kabbalah. You know, like why spend that money on it? It's like, okay, what else could you spend $6,000 on? And I'm not talking about people who are like, well, it's between that and paying my rent and my groceries. Because if Kabbalah is between you paying your rent and your groceries, the answer is 100% don't do Kabbalah.
Yeah, except for there's a massive magic that's happened. I know for myself, I was laid off in the middle of Kabbalah and I did Kabbalah basically unemployed. And
Right.
let me tell you, payment came in some sideways ways. I was like, I don't know how I've just got the cash. All's good now. And so
Right.
to your point about the divine timing, if I'm looking at the mundane of my life and I'm asking the mundane of my life to be my boss, oh, you tell me, my schedule is going to tell me.
Then you'll never
It,
penetrate the mysteries.
you're never going to get there.
There's a
Like,
mystery to life, and that mystery is knowing thyself as an eternal divine being. And if you want to stay in the mundane world where everything works well on paper, you will never penetrate the mysteries. The mystery school is not a seminar company. We are not we're open to the public, but I often say we're not open to the public. We're not really open to the public because the public doesn't understand very much about anything. Like the people who are watching this video are not quote unquote the public. The public aren't going to sit through this. This isn't interesting. Like we didn't put AI girls with flashing their boobs over here in the corner so that you'll watch, right? This is not stimulating to your dopamine receptor sites to watch a video like this. This is serotonin stuff. This is real spiritual pride in understanding who you really are. This is the long-term reward. This isn't a quick dopamine hit. Nothing in life that's worthwhile is a quick dopamine hit, except maybe food. Food's a nice dopamine hit, right?
yeah,
But most of, but food also, if you prepare food lovingly for yourself, it's going to activate more than your dopamine system. If you treat your body well and you feed yourself nourishing food, that's going to activate more than just quick rewards in your life. And all of us know this on some level. So then we talk a lot about royalty in the mystery school. What is royalty? Royalty is many things, but if we want to boil it down, it's attention to detail. The details of your life matter. And in the mystery school, it's not about just the physical details of like, oh, I've got this in my calendar today, and I'm going to show up for these things in my calendar. Okay, that's good. We do need to do that. We need the details of life on the mundane level to be working in our lives. But real royalty is about paying attention to all of life. So there's physical, there's how are you doing with your inner life, there's spiritual. What are you doing with your spiritual life? And for someone who is quote unquote the general public, they're maybe involved in religion. That's fine, great. But that's about a belief system. And the mystery school, We're not about having a belief system. It's all about God and faith and light and healing and joy and all good things in life. But it's not about thinking in your mind and figuring something out in your mind. And that is it's like a membrane or a barrier that we have to break through. We have to put our head through that veil of reality and see that there's something on the other side. And for most people, that's either sounds insane and or scary. But why would you do that? Why would you see beyond normal life? Like, well, aren't you happy with your life right now? And you don't have to be unhappy with your life to realize that there's more. But you do need a calling inside. And that calling is the greatest mystery. Why did you wake up when you woke up? Like, do you know now, even today, why?
No, not 100%, but I do without any doubt know that basically I woke myself up, myself and God. We wrote down on a map, here's the Julie backup plan. This is the urgent. If she's not sniffing the trail yet, which by the way, I was not, I was very closed off, then here's our emergency backup plan. We're going to wake her up fairly roughly, because I needed to be. And to your point, at the time, if you had asked me, I wouldn't have said I was unhappy. In hindsight, I could see there was like depressive energy and discontentment, but that was just life, and then I partied and did drugs and it kind of made it feel better for a little bit, right? But it was more for me, really, it's about, and I know it sounds trite, and until you experience it, it's just going to be words, but knowing myself, to imagine passing away 83 years old, 90 years old, 70 years old, and not knowing these vital aspects of me that for sure I never would have connected with if I hadn't have been initiated through the Empower Thyself, if I hadn't have done Kabbalah. Like there's no chance I would have found it because it was buried under trap doors, round around the back. There were 75 block cabinets on top of it. I didn't have the tools. I didn't know it was there. And I didn't have the tools in order to access those mysteries of the self. But what a profound, for me, it would just be so profoundly sad to be ending my existence here on the physical and having missed that opportunity to connect so deeply and live some of that truth. Even if it's only 10% more, but to live 10% more of who I really am here in the physical. What a gift. What a powerful gift that is to myself, that it's like, for me, I mean, $6,000, there's not an amount of money. There is truly not an amount of money that is equitable to that. And by the way, Kabbalah has helped me increase my finances. First, it was 3 times, then it was 5 times. And so I don't even know what number we're at now, but it's like at least 5 times, right? The amount of money that I was earning. And that was not bad. That felt okay, all's well, because
Right.
again, that was what I saw for myself. That was my vision for myself. That's how I regarded myself. And so I didn't really ask for more because I didn't really feel I needed more. And I didn't really necessarily desire more, or if I did, they were very like restrained or repressed. They were very much in my subconscious. It was like I really didn't allow myself to want much. And therefore, sure, I was contented with what I had, which was fine, but it didn't really have to do with the truth of my eternal being, which is like profound to have that added depth to my daily existence. And on top of that, guess what? There's more. It's not over, and that's the wild thing and the beautiful thing. But yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And, people find this at any age, but it's great to find it when you're in the first half of your life. It's great because then you can make the second half of your life all about the light, all about yourself, all about God, all about, and just for those who are watching who maybe aren't initiated, we're not talking about God here in any specific religious context. Like we're not talking about the Christian God or the Jewish God or the Muslim God or any of the gods and goddesses of any other tradition. Like God is God, and God doesn't need to have any one specific name. Lots of traditions have different names for God. That's all well and good. They describe different features and functions, and they help us worship God, and all good. But there's a unity and a oneness to light, to God, to source, to what the structure of the universe is made out of. And the mind that's behind all of it is a unity. So whatever we want to call that, that's what we're talking about here with God. And there's the God part that's inside of us, and there's the God part that's out there in the universe. And Kabbalah and the entire path of the mystery school, the path of initiation, is all about discovering and living into that relationship. And it is a living relationship. It's not, well, I know this much about myself and that's what it is, or this book says this is what God is and that's what God is. It's like God is changing with every breath, with every moment, because you're changing with every breath and every moment. There's an eternal part of you that never changes, and there's this temporal part of you that's living in the matrix of time and space that is different moment to moment to moment. And both of those realities exist at the same time. And even just that is more awareness than 99.9% of people on this planet will ever have. And I don't mean as a concept, because we can all read that in a book or hear it on a podcast like this and think, oh, that sounds good. Yeah, check the box of awareness on that. But it's not awareness until you're living it. And that was what was so huge for me about the mystery school is, I sat in the class for 2 days and I thought to myself, I'm not going to do anything else, except maybe Kabbalah. And then that sword came down and I got initiated. And within the next month, so many things in my life started changing. And within 3 months, 4 months, I had faced 10 years worth of fears. And I was not a spiritual slacker. I mean, I don't say this to brag, but I have meditated in my life probably more than anyone else that I know who didn't live in a monastery. I mean, from the time I was 11 years old, I was doing meditation. I took it seriously from the time I was 13 or 14. By the time I was 16, I was doing it 3 hours a day. And that continued until my 30s. And then I got too busy with my business to do 3 hours a day. So I did more like 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day. I've done 3 rounds of like 3+ months long meditation nonstop.
Yeah.
And the 10 years of meditating for 3 hours a day before I found the mystery school did not bring me diddly squat in comparison to just 4 months of doing a few rituals and yes, continuing to meditate. But during those 4 months, I grew more than I had in 10 years. So I was like, I think that initiation works. Something happened because I am not afraid of what I used to be afraid of. I'm not stuck where I used to be stuck. I don't get looped into mental self-talk about what I am or what I'm not. I just choose something and I do it. And that's it. I don't, it's like I'm thinking less, but I'm smarter. And for most people, that's like, what? No, people who are smart must think a lot. It's like, no, people who are smart have the light in their mind. They are enlightened in their mind. They don't need to think as much because inspiration comes to them. They're not locked down into their brain. They're open to greater universal intelligence. And Kabbalah is one of the best systems to, systematically, step by step, open up to the greater reality of your intelligence and your ability to do things successfully, to achieve things, to, call it manifestation or attraction or creation or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. When people are in Kabbalah, like you were saying, like I was saying, I mean, everyone has their stories. I had never made significant money doing anything before Kabbalah. And by the end of Kabbalah, I was making like $150 an hour running my own business. That's wild.
Yeah.
Like that was 10 times the money that I was making before.
Yeah. Yeah.
In just
Pretty
1
much.
year.
Yeah. It's
working
crazy.
half as much with,
Yeah.
and of all of a sudden, it's like I could afford everything. I was like a broke 20 something to like, I can go take my girlfriend on vacations to California and like eat amazing organic food and do what I want to do with my life. And that was all in the course of like 11 months.
Yeah, but it goes back to what you were saying. I loved your metaphor of the car because we all have this vehicle. I mean, it's literally our life that we're driving. But when there's a piece missing or a piece that we just don't really know how it functions, it's not going to drive very well, right? And so Kabbalah totally on this massive fundamental way upgrades all the units within your vehicle so that now, first of all, you become more aware of them to your point of awareness. Like I didn't even know half of it. So now I know that that exists to even care about. Okay. And now I have a better understanding of my relationship with it. Maybe I was afraid of it. Maybe I didn't like it or I avoided it. Maybe I thought it was dumb. So I just didn't want to be bothered with it. But actually, it was the key to the castle. Guess what? Not dumb at all. When I put it into action, my whole life just flourished. Right. So there's all these ways that the mind has discarded or perhaps, just put things in the discard bin, and it's actually like hidden treasure. So Kabbalah is absolutely this amazing self-discovery, but as well discovery of kind of the funk, like how does life really work? We think we get it. And then through Kabbalah, we start to see it from all these different perspectives that we might never have even considered.
Yeah. And we, in the mystery school, we're not doing Kabbalah associated with any specific religious tradition. We're doing it in the Hermetic tradition. And Hermetics itself is this whole philosophy and science of mind, of the universe starts with the seeds of all things are mind. And the mind has correspondence. So the universe is holographic. That which is in the mind manifests into the world. It does that through vibration. As that vibration spreads out, it creates these polarized spectrums of energy. Those spectrums of energy develop a natural rhythm of movement along the spectrums. As those spectrums intersect with each other, causes and effects take place in reality. And then those causes and effects are either manifested outside of ourselves, which we call masculine energy, or inside of ourselves, which we call feminine energy. All the universe flows according to those 7 principles: mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. And those energies are always present when we're working as human, when we exist. It's the silliest thing to say because they're so fundamental to the universe. It's like those energies are present everywhere, all the time, with no exceptions. And to your point, when we are not aware of them, we can't really use them. We can use them subconsciously. We can use them according to old programs, whatever. For most successful people, they've actually harnessed a certain portion of those energies subconsciously, and their program allows them to hold a portion of it. But then when it's time to grow, the mind only functions according to its program. So if we want to expand our function, we have to expand our mind, but the mind is constantly like, well, the program, it's going back to the program. And so we need some kind of system that safely builds the mind a bridge out of itself into a greater reality. And so Kabbalah builds that bridge. It's that ladder of lights that goes from earth to heaven within us. And we find that earth and heaven are both inside of us. Maybe earth relates to the feet and heaven relates to our head, but according to that map, that everything is a holographic quantum universe map within us. We say our spiritual DNA is the tree of life. The tree of life is our spiritual DNA. So is that a scientific statement we can validate with laboratory science yet? No, but there's huge relationship and correspondence, even just in the sacred geometry of looking at that. I'm just gesturing over there because there's a map of the tree of life on the wall. Even just in the sacred geometry of how the tree of life is laid out, it literally looks like one codon of the DNA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's interesting. There's a lot of things we could discuss with Kabbalah, and this is not the place to go dive deep into the metaphysical and scientific structure of the tree of life. But as we do that 10-month journey, 12-month journey, 11-month journey, we do go into that, and you do start to understand what's under the hood in the engine of that car, how it actually works, and how to not only repair it and upgrade it, but drive it and get what you want out of it, take it in the right direction, and learn to navigate. There's so many metaphors with that car analogy. Yeah.
So if somebody's listening and they are feeling drawn, they're feeling the call, how can they know that they're ready for Kabbalah, and or maybe how could they prepare themselves for this?
Well, if they're already initiated, it's a different conversation. If they're initiated, they should probably just talk to me. Get on a Zoom call, get on a phone call. They should probably come to the Kabbalah meditations that I do. I do those a few times a month, usually Monday nights, sometimes other nights, but usually Monday nights, maybe 2, 3 times a month.
I'll make
Those
sure
are,
when I send this out that I'll have a link to that as well for folks
yeah,
listening.
same. Those are not anything like the actual Kabbalah ascension journey, but they do give you a taste of some of the energies of the tree of life. And they do give you a taste of what we call in the mystery school tradition archangels, which, if you're initiated, you're familiar with some of the teachings on archangels, because we work with a different archangel each week, and we go into different parts of the tree of life. And Kabbalah is very much about questions. So we ask a lot of questions in those meditations, and we get answers for ourselves on the inside. And it's the answers come with energy. They don't, it's not talking to another human being and getting another human being's perspective. That's fine. Yeah, go talk with someone, get advice, worldly, mundane things. That's great. But on the inner levels, archangels don't talk to us in words. They can put words into our minds and we can translate that, but they talk to us in pure, very powerful energies. And so when you ask questions of archangels in those Kabbalah meditations, you receive spiritual inputs, downloads, healing, transformation directly. And a lot of people have said, I get text messages almost every week when I teach those. People are like, that is the most powerful experience I've had in my entire life, just doing those Kabbalah meditations. And they're free on Zoom. So it's not the same thing as doing Kabbalah at all, but it does give you a little bit of a taste of the tree of life. So that's one way to at least experience it a little bit. But talking with me and tuning in, because everything in the mystery school, everyone who's in the mystery school already, in terms of being initiated at whatever level of initiation you are, whether it's an adept or you've gone to Healer's Academy or maybe you've done Ritual Master, although you can't go very far in Ritual Master until you do Kabbalah. And I usually recommend Kabbalah for people before they do Ritual Master because of many, many different reasons, too much to go into on this podcast. So a conversation with me is great because something will already call to you about doing Kabbalah. And then it's just a question of like, is it the right time? And is it the right time is dependent on the questions you are already asking yourself in your life and the problems that you want to, quote unquote, solve in your life. And Kabbalah is going to work differently for each person. So as a Kabbalah teacher, I'm holding that tree of life for that group for that year that they're in it. And then I'm holding it for anywhere from like 1 to 5 years afterwards. I'd say an average of like 3, 4, 5 years for each student after they're in Kabbalah. So I take it very seriously as a huge spiritual responsibility. It's one of my biggest spiritual responsibilities in this lineage and in my life. So bringing a student into the tree of life and then holding them for many years in that tree of life so they can work with that alchemical container of transformation beyond even just those 10 to 12 months that they're in the class itself. So I take it very seriously, and I want to talk with people before they sign up, and I want to talk with them after they sign up and have an ongoing relationship, because again, this isn't a seminar company where I'm like, all right, let's fill 50 seats and like get the money in and sign the contracts and like, all right, we're going to build up my 401k here. Like it's not, that's not why we
It's the
do Kabbalah.
soul. I mean, it's the human soul. It's beyond. It's so beyond.
So yeah, it's the evolution of the self, and all the lessons of life will be so accelerated that most people, by the time they're halfway through Kabbalah, will have finished a lifetime's worth of lessons, literally, and be manifesting things they never thought they would manifest.
Yeah.
So that's not everybody. Some people have more work to do than others. Some people are way stuck in, their head is up their wahoo and they need to pull it out. And that can
You
take the
said
whole year.
sometimes the inner world needs the alchemy first, which is not going to bear fruit into the physical immediately, but it is hugely profound and it will, of course, benefit your life massively. But I know
Yeah.
for myself, there's been times where it's been more of an inner journey where it's not like, oh, I got the new car, I got more money, I have a new relationship. It's like, oh, I let go of a deep inner attachment that I thought if I ever let go of this, I might as well stop living because there's no point if I don't have this thing that I'm grasping because I know better than God what is going to actually be good for my life. So I'm going to white knuckle this thing, even though I'm getting the beat down from the universe, and it does. It feels like a death and you release it. And then all of a sudden your life has more blessings than it's ever had.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's its own discussion of the alchemical hero's journey of Kabbalah and what needs to die within you and what needs to be reborn within you. Kabbalah is the journey. That's why I have this on the wall. It's the journey of the phoenix.
Mm.
It's the journey of you will burn up the self to recreate the self. And the new self will arise much bigger, grander, and more beautiful than the old self. But the old self isn't going to look the same. It's like it's going to die, and the new self will be born, and the new self will be based on the old self in Kabbalistic terms rather than the terms of the phoenix. In Kabbalistic terms, we say that you'll grow into a new tree. That on top of the old, like the old tree of life, this is the old tree of life here in front of me. The new tree of life is going to grow above that. But the what was once my life, what was the tree, because the tree is life. The tree of life is life itself. It's the structure of everything from heaven to earth within you. Everything that you are is contained within the tree of life, described within the tree of life, related to through all the metaphors and archetypes of the tree of life, through the gateways of the tree of life. The whole thing is a series of gateways to yourself. And that becomes the root system of the new tree. So it almost like that, like life moves down and you bury it in the ground, and now it becomes a root system, and then a new tree grows from that. And at first the new tree feels unfamiliar, and then you realize that it's growing on the root system of the old tree, and that became the fertilizer, the compost for what is now growing. And it's the earth is richer, your life is richer because it's much more fertile, and what grows from that is much more open because the rules have changed. The rules of your old life were my mind can only function based on its program. And the rules of your new life are I am infinite, I am eternal, I am God, I can do anything, I am joy. The rules are totally different. And
I like
however,
those new rules.
yeah, however much you know yourself, your life will be better.
Yeah.
And if you, the new rules have one caveat. If you deny yourself, and like Hermes says in Hermetic teachings and texts, then you say, I am not divine and I am not eternal and I don't have power and I can't do anything and I'm not capable of knowing myself, then that's like Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You think you can't be a divine eternal being? Well, then for that moment you won't be until you change that. Of course, it won't actually change the fact that you're an eternal being, because eternal means eternal. It's not subject to your opinions and your belief system or your religion or your philosophy of the moment. Those things will change. All the people who are one religion now, by the time they're dead and they've moved on 100 years from now, they're not going to be that religion anymore. And Kabbalah asks us to start thinking in those terms. Who am I in eternity? Not who am I today so I can pay the bills. Not who am I today so I can show up for my kids. Not who am I today so I can get to the gym and be fit. Those things are very important. But I don't think anyone would dispute, any sane person would not dispute that those are important. But there's a bigger question behind that too, of who am I as an eternal being?
I think what you're saying here, though, for me, it's like that's the key. Like the breakthroughs for me around how can I pay my bills better? How can I go to the gym more frequently? The key didn't come from problem solving that.
Right.
The key came from, oh my gosh, I totally forgot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a creator, God, goddess. I'm an
Mm-hmm.
eternal being here, having a little blip. And I'm saying that I know for many of you it's going to be in the mind, but Kabbalah brings it into reality where you're going to have that embodied experience of like those are not actually just words that people say, but it's true. And then even if it's just a little blip, that's going to go and plug into all those things that you're talking about, the mundane. And that's how you explode that and make it bigger and expand it from the key of your spirit, not necessarily by like, problem solving your calendar a little bit better. Maybe, but the breakthrough is going to happen at that
Absolutely.
way deeper level.
And the whole purpose of the entire 10, 11, 12 month journey of Kabbalah is to have what we say is a face-to-face meeting with God, and the God within you and the God within the universe. And many people would say that's not possible. You can't have a face-to-face meeting with God. It's against my religion to think that way. Or
I mean, I
even
was atheist. When I took the Empower Thyself, I wasn't sure that there was a God. And now
right,
here I am saying that I had a face to face experience of God.
right. And that's what changes all those things. Like what that per what you were just talking about a moment ago, of it's yes, pay the bills, go to the gym and be healthy, take care of your family. Those things don't get put aside when you do Kabbalah. Those things, the ones that are important, come front and center. The things that don't matter in life, those do get put aside. You will not you will not tolerate the lower negative frequencies that you don't need anymore. Those will fall away through even just the process of being initiated. They will start to fall away, but definitely through Kabbalah, they will really start to fall away. But the important things in your physical life, as above, so below, as within, so without, we make the change in those physical things by making the change in ourselves. We make the change in ourselves by knowing ourselves. We know ourselves by knowing God. We know God by knowing ourselves. And Kabbalah takes you to that face-to-face meeting with God. By the end of those 10 to 12 months, at the final retreat, we're in 3 days of, the pure light of the mind of God. And in that pure light, there is total love, total safety. You can heal anything. You can let go of anything. You can transform and discover the true essence of the self. And when you cross over what we call the abyss, which represents your fears and your separation, which is the final process, the final ceremony, if you will, of the 10 to 12 months that happens at the last evening of that 3-day retreat. When you cross over the abyss, when you cross over your fears and your separation with God, and you have that face-to-face meeting, everything changes because of that one, like you call it a blip. I like that. That one little drop of light from your eternal self that's never been here in the world before comes in, and it's like a seed is planted from your divine self into you. And that seed will take several years to work its way all the way through your energy systems. And it will rebuild your life from the inside out in alignment with the will of God, alignment with your purpose, alignment with your true mission and your destiny and what you've always really wanted to do on a soul and spirit level. That becomes much more obvious within the first, it becomes more obvious usually during Kabbalah, but definitely within the first year or two after Kabbalah, usually you're on that track. And then many people do Kabbalah many times. They do Kabbalah at least 2, 3, 4 times. And that, of course, the journey goes so much deeper. It's a holographic journey. You go to the next tree, and then you integrate that, and you go to the next tree, and you integrate that. And by the time a person's done 2 or 3 trees, usually they are on track with their destiny, what they're here to do. This is why I was born. This is what my joy really is. And I can't do anything other. Like nothing else makes sense than living my destiny. And that destiny then makes every other area of life work a lot better.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, I don't know, I don't have time for Kabbalah because it's going to take away from these areas of my life. No, it's going to give you back 10 times more energy. There's other
Absolutely.
areas of life. You will be
Absolutely.
a much better father. You will be a much better businessman or woman or mother, father. I'm a father, right? So father or mother, businessman or woman, professional, whatever you do in your life,
Absolutely.
you will take better care of yourself. You will take better care of other people. You will have better boundaries in that journey of care for self and care for others. And the list goes on. I mean, I think there's a list here I'm looking at. There's quite a list. This is the Kabbalah journey that I have pulled up on my phone. So I have the dates in front of me. And we talk about dates in a moment. But this is just a tiny list.
Yeah.
And don't take it from me, but do talk to, maybe if you have any friends who have done Kabbalah, talk to them about it. There's some testimonials on this page. It's like there's so much that happens with it. I know we should probably wrap up soon
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people don't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
listen to
But
podcasts.
no, thank you so much, Jordan. I think that was really, really helpful. I know I learned a lot. I'm sure people tuning in learned a lot. Maybe their minds got a little blown. Perfect. We love that. So for the next dates for
And I feel like we
2027.
haven't talked about anything yet. That's how
Yeah.
vast Kabbalah is. I'm like, we've been talking for an hour and we just got started.
Yeah.
And there's so much to talk. We haven't even put a picture of the tree of life on the screen and discussed it. Like I have Kabbalah webinars where I do an hour or two of that, and those are on my YouTube channel. And maybe we can send links to those also so people can get a little bit more of like a breakdown of the structure of the training and that sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Great. No, that would be great. So I think talking to you would be amazing. Of course, if you're one of my initiates, you want to come talk with me, one of my clients, I'd be more than happy to share from my experience. But I do think at some point having at least some dialogue with you is super, super helpful. You've done this so many times. You have so much expertise there, and somebody can really get their questions answered right away through that.
Yeah.
February 6th and 7th, 2027.
Yeah.
Feels far away. Guess what? It's not.
It's not. A lot of people are already booking their calendars for that. So set those dates aside. If you go to my website, healingboston.com, you click on Kabbalah. It's, I think, the third link in the menu bar there. It's a long, long page. There's some video testimonials from a few years ago of just a few different people's experiences, a little bit about Kabbalah, its history in the mystery school. One of the webinars is plugged right into the webpage there. You can literally like play it right from YouTube there. There's benefits of Kabbalah. There's a structure of the training with the 4 weekends, and then there's 11 study groups on Zoom. I haven't set those dates as of right now, but I probably will do that like in the next few days. I'll probably do that tonight, like when we get off this call. The study group dates are required, but there's always a Monday and a Thursday night option for them on Zoom. And if for some reason there's a real emergency, you can always do a makeup. So
Yeah. Yeah, but it's good because the 4 ascension days, those are set and
and
that
they're
you
in
do,
person and they don't
and they're
change.
in person and you do need to be there. So I know people are already looking at their calendars. If this
Yeah.
is something that you're at all interested in, definitely set that time aside. As we discussed, if you're looking at your calendar to see if you can do something, let me tell you, you're not going to go very far in the mysteries. You got to set that will in motion and be the creator and make it happen. And there's plenty of wiggle room. We're here in May. You can definitely do it. And it's such a journey, such an amazing journey, literally of the life, your lifetime. So I
Yeah.
would definitely encourage people.
I was sharing with someone yesterday when we were on a phone call, just about life and scheduling. One of my favorite quotes for adulting is, adulthood is saying, but after this week, things will slow down a bit over and over again until you die. And that's
Why is
true.
that so real?
It's true. Like,
Why is that so
I'm so
real?
booked. This week and next week is really intense for me, but in 2 weeks, I will have time. And then next week, 2 weeks is 1 week further. And you won't have any more time unless you make the time.
Yeah.
It just works like that. And so everybody knows that. Like, I'm not telling anyone anything new. So usually when I tell people that, there's a subtle discomfort because they're like, oh, I am in control. That's responsibility. What do I do with that responsibility? And it's like the Kabbalah will hold you to your responsibilities as an eternal being in the most beautiful and gentle way. And my job as a Kabbalah teacher isn't even to really hold you to your responsibilities. Like the tree of life will do it for you. And yet, Kabbalah only starts about once every 18 months in this area, which is way more than most other areas of the world. We're lucky because I live here in Boston and we have a Kabbalah teacher, which means there's going to be like people fly from all over the country to take Kabbalah here or in California or in Florida, sometimes in Texas or Minneapolis or Toronto. I just named the places where it happens in the US. So if you're in the Boston, if you're in New England, like it happens here. Occasionally it happens in New York. Like I did one in Philadelphia or in Pennsylvania like 4 years ago.
Yeah. No, it's a huge, huge, huge privilege that we have it right here. And you don't have to go stay in a hotel to take it. You can just drive there for most of us. It's such a wonderful resource. And as we've talked about, I mean, it's life changing on every single fundamental level of your life. So,
Yeah. And so, if you're in your 40s or in your 50s and you're like, well, I'll do it, but next time, it's like, okay, well, it's starting in whatever it is, like 9 months from now or 8 months from now. And whenever you're watching this, maybe it's only starting in 1 month. But when we're recording this, it's the beginning of May. And it's, so it's 8 months from now, or yeah, 9 months from now, next February. I can't do math. Okay. So fine. It's in 9 months. But then if you wait, it's going to be another 18 to 20 months after that. So now we're talking like that's more than 2 years from now. And then if that comes up again and you're like, well, I'm going to wait again. Okay, great. And now you're another 3.5 or 4 years. It's like, when are you going
mhm,
to
right.
if it calls to you, it needs to be at the right time. But what is the right time? If your soul isn't quite ready, usually that's a function of you need to do a little bit more healing work,
Mhm.
which can sound like just BS marketing, but whatever, I don't care. It's not marketing. It's like if the soul isn't quite ready, the soul won't get ready because you wait in time. The soul will get ready because you do healing work for
Thank
the
you.
soul to
This
be
is
ready.
crucial, crucial
For
there.
many people, I've seen them spontaneously be ready for Kabbalah with a single session rightly placed at the right time of the right type. Usually, that session is often what we call etheric reconstruction, where we pop a core issue out of the mind. or soul retrieval. Those are the two things that I've seen get the soul ready for the next leap. So with the etheric reconstruction, sometimes if that's the thing that's needed, and you and your guide and or Kabbalah teacher can discuss that prior to, deciding, am I ready for this? Am I not ready for this? There's some block sticking in the
Mm.
subconscious from the past that says, no, you're not ready and you can't do that. And we literally pop it out and you're like, oh, I'm ready. I can do it. I don't even know what was I hesitating about? Or, or there's a part of your own soul that when sometime in your childhood was afraid of the emotions that it was experiencing and the circumstances that it found itself in. And out of those fears, that part of your soul left, departed, and is no longer in the main soul matrix here in your heart. It's not present in your body, in your aura, even in your astral field anymore. It's gone. It went somewhere else in the solar system, and it needs to be brought back. When we bring that back with what we call hermetic soul retrieval, many people find they're spontaneously ready for the things that they were scared of before, because they literally didn't have enough energetic resources within themselves, within their own soul. The part of their soul was missing, so they would reach for the power that they were supposed to have, and the power was not available in their field. And so many people are like, well, I'm not ready and it's not my time. Just get a etheric reconstruction and a soul retrieval, and it's probably your time.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to like keep going, oh, well, maybe I'll be ready for that Kabbalah training one day. I tell most of my initiates, you should come for a healing once a month. Most of them don't do it, and with absolute love, I'll quote Forrest Gump here: stupid is as stupid does. Like, don't be dumb. Like, there's a reason, my schedule is jam packed. I'm not trying to fill it up with more people because I need money. That's not the point. It's like, if you're on this path, there's going to be things in you that will come up because you're bringing in light, and the light is going to shine on the darkness. It's going to shine on the subconscious mind. It's going to shine on the things you don't know about yourself. And they don't have to be dark like evil. They're just dark like not illuminated yet. Like the awareness of the light of your higher self has not touched them yet. The programs of the past that used to serve you, maybe they don't serve you anymore. Maybe they don't keep you happy anymore. Maybe they're wrecking your marriage. I don't know. Maybe they're destroying your health. I don't know. Maybe everything is fine. Maybe everything is good. But as the light shines in, things need to be cleansed and healed. So I recommend for most students, come in once a month and do healing work. And if you're doing that, you'll find that those gears of your life start turning smoothly. Things start working in ways that they weren't working before. And just like you take your car in how many times a year? I take my car in, I drive a lot. So I drive to Canada and I drive and teach in different places, but I take my car in like 3 or 4 times a year for servicing. I put double the number of miles that most people put on their cars on my car. So maybe most people only take it in twice a year. I take it in 4 times a year. Maybe that's all you need, 2 to 4 sessions a year. Fine. I'd say that's on average what most people do. But if you're hungry for change, come once a month. You will not stay stuck in your life if you come once a month and you put the work in and you, as an initiate, are progressing in your life. So if you're not yet an initiate, because we haven't really spoken to those people yet in this video, but certainly lots of people will probably see this who are not initiated, that's really the first step. You can't really consider Kabbalah until you're initiated. You can't really understand the journey of a lifetime through your soul until the soul is brought home into the arms of God. And you can say, well, I went home to Jesus and that's fine. Okay, great. But this is different. Something happens with initiation, and belief systems are not what we're about. It's not about what you believe. It's not about a religion. Something happens when you get initiated where the soul comes home to itself, and the soul is under the protection of the hierarchy of light and God. And the soul doesn't need a mental reason anymore once you're initiated. Prior to initiation, the mind is in charge. After adept initiation, the heart has 50% say. After healer's initiation, the heart has 75% say. And the mind takes a back seat after healer's initiation, after second step initiation. So for an adept, the mind is still a wrestling match. For a healer, the mind doesn't stand a chance. Second step initiate, they're gonna know. They're gonna know what's right for them. they're going to listen to their heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Cool.
But this was so helpful, so illuminating. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, Jordan. I'm sure a lot of people have found this helpful so far. Whether it's their time or not for Kabbalah, but just to understand a little bit more about the framework and what it could do for them. Because I didn't know anything about it until, I found the mystery school and learned about Kabbalah. So it's such a wonderful, amazing tool. And I'm happy to be able to interview you and learn more about it and spread that information to people who might be seeking it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was inspiring for me because I used to do podcasts every week and I want to get back to it. And I've got some cool reminders here. So thank you for suggesting this and proposing that we do this. And I'm very grateful. And I love sharing in this way. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for listening. We'll have links below or, emailed out however you find this so that you're able to connect and contact Jordan should Kabbalah be calling you. All right. And thanks everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.